All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Internal Book here, and me. My name is Gennady, and I'm a methodologist here at the Internal Book, which is an exclusive representative of the publisher Pearson here in Ukraine. Just to start everything well, yes, hello to everybody. Just write in your chat boxes if you can hear me well. Okay? Right. Yes. If you can hear me well, or plus, yes, we can. Hello. Good. All right. I'm very, very glad to see so many positive answers to this very, very important question, because if you can hear me well, then everything is going to be fine. Then I'm sure that our event, our webinar is going to be a success and is going to happen. Okay, good. So, good. We are based here in Kyiv, and we've got a lovely, actually sunny day here in Kyiv, though it is a bit chilly outside. Can you, again, in your chat boxes, write where you come from, okay, what city or town or village you come from. Okay, Odessa, okay, a couple from Odessa, good, Lviv, Kropivnitsky, Dnipro, Dniprodzerzhinsk, Odessa again, Starobelsk, Sumy. All right, so many different places from our best and beautiful country, Ukraine. Nice, Kropivnitsky, Kirovograd. Yeah, well, so you two are from the same place. Good. Vinnytsia. Oh, my hometown, my home city. Nice to see somebody from Vinnytsia. All right, excellent. Well, I'm sure that many of you have already been to one of our webinars that we have already held. And again, write yes if you have watched any of our webinars. I just want to see if there is just anybody left in Ukraine who hasn't watched any of the webinars. Oh yes, actually, Victoria Zakutnaya says no. So welcome to our webinars, Victoria. It's nice you're with us, and a couple of more negative answers. So I'm sure that you're gonna fall in love with the webinars today. And actually, many of them have been already downloaded on our website. I'm going to share a link with you at the end of the webinar, so that for those who haven't watched them yet, will be able to watch them downloaded on the internet. So hello. Well, I think it's time to start, right? So let's not wait any longer. So greetings. These are our usual 30-minute with Pearson webinars. And today, the topic of the webinar is how to plan a perfect vocabulary lesson, 6 simple tips. Well, I'm sure that some of you or many of you have been to the webinar conducted by my dear colleague Olen. They were held 2 previous weeks. So please write in the chat boxes if you have. Write yes if you saw the webinars by Yelena, which were named actually how to plan a perfect grammar lesson. So some of you say yes, and that it was interesting, good, no. So if you haven't, again, watched it, it was the first in the series of how to plan a perfect lesson webinars. So if you haven't seen it, please again go to the website, to our ELT website. I'm going to share a link at the end again, and watch the webinar, because this is the second in the series of our webinars, how to plan a perfect lesson. And well, those of you who attended the first one in the series will help me out here. And you remember that Olena told you that it is really important for her, and for me as well actually, to start planning a lesson thinking about the type of the lesson, right? And we've got systems lessons. Yes, they are grammar and vocabulary, and they are skills lessons. So by receptive and productive skills lessons, what lessons do I mean here? So receptive skills lessons, what lessons are these? Can you type the answers please in the chat box? What are receptive skills? Reading, okay, Vaidich, Natalia, good. And listening, yes, perfect, thank you. Lots of correct answers, good job. And by productive skills lessons, what type of lessons do we mean here? Productive skills, those are speaking, yes, and writing. Excellent job, everybody. Good. So, during the first webinar with Olena, she focused actually on the systems lesson on grammar. So today I'm going to continue with the lesson on vocabulary. So our webinar is going to be based on our lower secondary sector brand new book, Next Move, which has been in Ukraine for 1 year already and has been working really, really well in secondary schools. In particular, I'm going to use Next Move 1, which is just perfect for 5th form students. So, when I'm planning a vocabulary lesson, I need a vocabulary page, right? And this is the page that I have used to plan the lesson I'm going to share with you today. So the topic of the lesson is technology, and here is the vocabulary that I would like my students to know, yes, by the end of the 45-minute lesson. So here it goes. Quite a few of nice technology words here, and in Next Move, vocabulary always goes with pictures, which is really, really helpful for visual students. And actually, you don't need to you don't need to print out any extra pictures, any extra material. It's right there for you. And here I start lesson planning, which is actually really important, especially if we talk about all the ministry changes, yes, that have been happening recently. So my lesson plan looks like this. I start with some general information, as this is Next Move 1, so I chose it for my class 5B. Then, so I'm using Next Move 1, Unit 9. The lesson type, you remember, yes, is vocabulary, and then the lesson aim. So, as I have already mentioned, yes, you probably all know very well that the new ministry program that came this summer, and according to it, lesson aim is really, really important. Well, and in Ukrainian, this lesson aim, yes, is called "Очікувані результати." So in the program, these lesson aims are written for the end of the 9th form, right? But we all understand that every lesson of ours, every 45-minute lesson should have a small aim there, yes, a very concrete thing that we want our students to be able to do by the end of the 45-minute lesson. So because of that, our internal book team have updated all the calendar planning for Next Move and for our other lower secondary school titles. So in this calendar planning, you're going to find all the new terminology that's there in programs. Then there are all the competencies, all the integrated, yes, these 4 lines, and actually there are these lesson aims written for you for every single lesson of Next Move. And for instance, the lesson aim for this one in our calendar planning sounds like this. На кінець уроку учні вмітимуть розповідати про використання технічних пристроїв. So, using our calendar planning is going to be really, really helpful, and it's going to minimize your preparation for the lesson. So this is the page I'm going to use, right? And this is the lesson aim. So in English it sounds something like this. Students can talk about technology. Well, and then I started planning, yes, the whole procedure. So, well, again, you've probably heard from us and from Olena as well that it is a very nice thing to divide your lesson into 3 main stages, which are engage, study, and activate. Yes, we have to engage our students. We have to teach them well, according to the main focus of the lesson, and then we have to activate this new knowledge, this vocabulary. But thinking about this lesson aim, yes, keeping it in mind, I understand that what I really need to use is something that is called backwards planning. And for my students to be able to actually use this target language, this vocabulary in their speech, I need to dedicate much time to the last stage, to activate their knowledge, to let them speak the vocabulary. So that's why a lot of time is going to be dedicated to pair work and group work in my lesson. Well, then I should think about the study stage, as it is really important, because here I need, yes, to present the vocabulary. Then I need to do some controlled practice activities with them, with my students. And then the stage that is also very important, it goes at the very beginning of the lesson, and this is engage. And here I need to think of one or good activity which won't take much time and which would involve all my students right from the very beginning into the lesson. So the first tip that I'm here to share with you is a motivating lead-in. Yes, I need to grab my students' attention from the very first seconds of the lesson. So how can I do that? Here is one thing that I use very often with my students. What I use is the association network activity. So you remember our topic is technology. That's why I put the word right in the center of the board. And then I ask my students to think of as many words as that come to their head when they think of the word technology. So for instance, in your chat boxes, can you please type what words do you associate with the word technology? What words come to your head when you think about technology? Gadgets, tablet, computer, TV, mobile phone, goods, robots, science, nice, devices, IT, Wi-Fi, somebody wrote, good, ICT, good. All right, smartphone, so lots of different things. Thank you very much. So yes, this is what some of them might come up with, Wi-Fi, and then they would think about gadgets, right, that can use Wi-Fi, that have Wi-Fi in them, something like smartphone and laptop. Then they would think about games or something else. Well, actually, some of the students can come up with the word fridge, and they would write something like ice, food, and winter with fridge. So you see that answers of our students might be really, really different. And if we think about fifth form students, well, their association line works just brilliantly, and they can, yes, oh, Victoria wrote unexpected associations, that's right, because, well, the lessons and students, again, especially fifth formers, they are unexpected, and they can come up with something really different because they can associate technology things, yes, with all the vocabulary they know. So is it bad? Well, actually, we can take it to our advantage, and we can do something like integrate other topics into the beginning of the lesson. And this is actually what the updated program claims for. Yes, it says that some topics, they can't go separately. They can be, and they even should be and must be integrated with something else. So why not use it to our advantage? What I tell my students is that here and now, they can think of any words they associate. For instance, they should think of 6 technology words, yes, that go with the topic, and then they can think of 4 words they associate with the school, yes, or that they have link with school here. For instance, they might come up here with ICT. I actually saw some of you writing in the chat box the word or the abbreviation ICT. So what does ICT stand for? What is ICT? Again, in your chat boxes, who is the first one? Who is the first one to write and to know what ICT is? Don't know. Okay. I saw somebody writing it. Information communication technologies. Absolutely correct. Thank you, Yulia. So, you know, very often this word sounds like IT, information technologies. Yet, but even in Ukrainian, we use the term informaційно-комунікаційні технології. So that's why ICT is really wide used these days. And for instance, for fridge, yes, they can come up with the word canteen, and then they can come up with some other associations like desk or lunchbox. So the idea is, at the beginning of the lesson, why not use all the knowledge, yes, that students have and activate it together with the topic that is in focus. So the first tip is motivating lead in. It needs to be short. Yes, it needs to involve all the students into the process of studying from the very beginning. Well, after I have motivated my students, yes, then I go to the main part, to the study process, and here I start with vocabulary presentation, as it is the focus of my lesson. And what is important here is that I present vocabulary in the MPF series. So if we have a look at vocabulary presentation, this MPF, can you tell me what M stands for? What is M in this series? Modal, Irina, good guess. Okay, anybody else? Modal. So I'm going to teach mind meaning. Okay, Olga, good job. So when I present vocabulary to my students, I start with teaching them, yes, presenting the meaning of the word. Okay, when my students have known the meaning, then I teach them what does P stand for? Pronunciation, Olga, but another one, okay? To Olga's, good job for you. So yes, after I have taught my students the meaning, I teach them the pronunciation of the word, all right? And the last but not least comes form. Again, Olga, well, Olga's, good job today. Very nice. So this is the succession, this is the series I use to teach my students vocabulary. I teach them meaning first, then pronunciation, and then form only appears. So let's have a look how it works with you now during our webinar. So I'm now going to show how this strategy, how this technique works. So at first, I'd like to teach you the meaning of the word, and I would use this picture. So have a look at this picture on the screen, and again, in your chat boxes, write what do you think it is. What do you think it is? Jack, plug, okay, good, wire. What do we use this plug and wire for? What do we use it for? Okay, yeah, computer, modem, plug in, all right, port, connection, good, all right, to connect is wire port. So lots of different, okay, good. Lots of good guesses and actually words that real students in the real classroom might come up with, but actually the word I would like here to teach my students is broadband. Okay, broadband. Have you ever heard of the word broadband? Do you use it in your classrooms? Well, of course, because it does appear in the books. It is this fast internet connection, right? Where you use this plug and wire and you connect it to the PC, yes, or sometimes laptop. So the word is broadband. Well, I used the picture, right, to teach you the meaning of the word. Well, what other means of teaching the meaning do you use in your classrooms? Again, in the chat boxes, right, okay, definition, Victoria, right, explanation, good. Any other means of teaching the meaning? Synonyms. Excellent. Miming. Good. Context, Irina. Nice. Cards. Situations. Opposites. Yes, true. Explanation again. Definition. Realia. Excellent. Pictures. Situation. Good. Cartoons. Chunks. Excellent. So I see that you are really proficient teachers over there, and you use lots of different techniques, and this is very, very nice. Yes, we need to use different alternatives when teaching meaning. So you can use definitions, antonyms, examples, associations, categorizing, situations. So most of these you have named already, and actually all of these examples are taken from Next Move. So the book we are working with today, yes, which our webinar is based on, does use lots of different ways to teach students meanings of the words. So after meaning, remember, yes, I need to teach you pronunciation. So what is the word which means that we teach our students pronunciation? Here is a picture to help you. Have a look at the picture and tell me how do we call the process? Yes, drill, Irina, Marina, drilling. Yeah, exactly. This is drilling. I sometimes even show my students the process of drilling so that they understood, yes, what I mean. Yes, exactly. And the question here is, what do we start? How do we start this drilling? Do we start drilling the whole class, or do we start drilling individual students? So again, in your chat boxes, write either A or B. Okay, class, whole class, B, whole class, class. Yes, very, very nice. Yes, lots of correct answers. Good job, everybody. Yes, true. We need to give, yes, everybody and each student some confidence, more confidence in the pronunciation of the word, because if we go individual first, yes, they might make some mistakes, and there could be some awkward situation in class. We don't want to do that. So we start with the whole class, and then we continue still with individual approach to teaching pronunciation, to drilling. That's absolutely true. So we start with the whole class. Then we narrow the focus down to groups and separate pairs, and only then go individual students. And actually, what I use very often is fun drilling. Again, it adds some fun and variety in my classroom. So lots and lots of different ways how to use that. I very often go and drill separately ladies from gentlemen, or I drill something. Yes, you can whisper the word. You can adjust the level of volume, kinda. Yes, saying the word from whisper to a very loud one. Or you can talk like you are an adult man saying the word broadband, or something like that. So lots and lots of different ways to use fun drilling in the classroom. So after I have taught my students meaning and pronunciation, I go for form. Yes, and form means that I use my board in the classroom, and the spelling goes first. So only here does the word appear on the board. I saw somebody typing previously in the chat box that the form should come earlier or somewhere. Yes, you asked if the form comes earlier, so it goes last for my students, yes, to know, even if they don't know by now the accuracy, yes, of how to spell the word broadband. They already know the meaning of the word, and they have already pronounced it a couple of times, so when they see it actually written, it wouldn't cause any mistakes. So together with spelling, you can go for word stress, and also part of speech is sometimes necessary for my students. So the third thing is controlled practice activities. So actually, what are they? Again, in your chat boxes, can you please write any examples of controlled practice activities that you use in your classrooms? Okay, so controlled. What about fill in the gaps? Good, Nila. Good. Fill in the gaps. Filling. All right. Spelling dictation. Okay. Dictation crossword. Complete sentences. Matching. Olga. Good. All right. So many different kinds of controlled practice activities, and these are the activities, yes, that they which have one correct answer and the answer which we would like to, yes, to hear from our students. So but the main idea here, yes, and the third tip is to make these controlled practice activities interactive. Yes, not to make them just face down for our students, but for them to have a chance to interact with each other. So how do we do that? Well, again, this is the page, yes, I used for my lesson, and these are the controlled practice activities there, numbers 2 and 3. And they have a certain procedure of how I make them interactive at my lessons. So, the first thing is that I should give instructions for my students what to do here or there. Then, I need to analyze an example with my students. Yes, it is really important for them to have a demo, to have an example, to have clear understanding of what exactly they must do. Then I need to set the time limit, and this is very important for students not to be relaxed, for them to know that they must finish in 3 minutes or in 5 minutes, and they would be more ready to work efficiently. Then students obviously complete the task. Well, they check it in pairs and in groups, and this is also a very important stage, especially if we talk about interaction between students. It gives them more confidence. It involves peer check and peer help in my lesson, which makes it a lot more student-centered. That's why checking in pairs or groups is really important after every controlled practice activity in my lessons. And then, only then you have feedback in class after they have helped each other, after they have consulted each other. They are going to be more willing to share their answers in the open class with their classmates. So, the fourth tip you need to use is, the third, sorry, is an interactive controlled practice activities. But what if I have a really strong group, yes, and that's not enough for them? Well, I always have this extra activity in mind, an optional one, yes, to use with my students. But does it mean that I have loads of extra photocopiable activities in my desk drawer? Well, probably not. Here, it is a good thing to think of some extra activities to the tasks that are already on my page. So let's have a look at some exercise 3 here. It says, read the definitions and say the word. And you see that here there are only 5 definitions, but if you remember, there are a lot more pictures here in this lesson. There are 12 pictures. So it means that 7 words haven't been used, yes, in this task. So that logically helps me to come up with an extra activity like this. I tell my students, okay, now guys, you write definitions for other words in the picture. Well then, I as a teacher go around the class, monitor my students' work, and help them, because you would definitely agree with me that writing definitions for 5th form students isn't an easy task. So my role here, yes, is to help them with any vocabulary they need. And then the students in pairs swap their definitions and identify the words. So extra activities like that, They are very easy to be implemented in the lesson, and they don't need you going somewhere and photocopy loads of extra materials for your students. Well, after I'm done with the study stage, I'm ready to go and activate all the knowledge, all the vocabulary, all the target language that my students have learned during the lesson. So this is my page, right? And actually, keeping in mind, you remember at the beginning of the webinar, I told you, yes, that the main of the lesson is that students are able to talk about technology, and that's why lots of time needs to be dedicated to the last stage where they actually activate and use vocabulary in speech. And on my page there is exercise number 4, which practically tells the students to work in pairs and ask and answer questions about technology. So when working here in pairs or in groups, students might have some difficulties with the questions in present simple, right, with the word order, with some auxiliary verbs, and they might definitely have pronunciation difficulties. So, and it is very important for us as teachers try to predict these difficulties before actually the lesson starts. At this stage of planning the lesson, I have a look at this task and I think, okay, yeah, my students might have these difficulties. And during this stage, during this activation stage, I must act accordingly. That means that I should choose proper feedback. So once, I might go and do some instant correction. So when my students discuss these questions, I go around the class, I come closer to them, and if I want my students to use language correctly right here and right now, I would go for instant correction, yes, pointing out their mistakes on spot. But sometimes, when I want my students to practice fluency more, not to disturb their interaction, yes, not to interfere in this process, I would go for delayed correction. That would mean that during their talk, I would collect all the errors and even more important, some good language from them, and then I will put it on the board at the end of the lesson or at the beginning of the next one and talk it through with my students. So the fifth tip that I have here for you is that you always need to think of and choose appropriate feedback. Either correct your students on spot if your focus is accuracy, or give them time on their own if you want them to develop their fluency skills. Well, and actually, you remember I'm having this strong group, and there is always not enough for them. So I can think of another extra activity here at this stage. So I would go for something which is called mingling. So mingling, yes, is nothing else when students stand up literally, yes, they go around the class and they ask and answer different questions each other. So an extra activity that I can come up with here at this lesson is I might give each student a chart, or I might tell my students to write, to draw it themselves, a chart like this with some questions there, yes, for some space for questions and positive, negative answers. And then, first of all, I would give them a sample question, yes, something like, have you got an ebook? For them to know what questions they should come up with. And then I would give them, they would write it there instead of the first question, yes, have you got an ebook? Then they have some time on their own, yes, to think and quickly write their own 3 yes-no questions. Then they stand up, they go around the class and they ask these 3-4 questions their classmates. So I dedicate some time and they go and they use the language. Yes, they use this question, they use all the technology words that they have learned during the lesson as many times as possible. And what is really interesting here, and a good thing, it finalizes with students, yes, writing the names of the students that have got or haven't got these technology, these gadgets, and then at the end of the lesson they draw simple graphs, they draw simple charts to display the results. So this is the type of feedback I collect from them, yes, charts or graphs. І, до речі, такі завдання є надзвичайно доцільними, так? Тому що вони допомагають розвивати учнівські уміння використовувати математичні методи, такі як графіки або схеми, для виконання комунікативних завдань під час уроків так, вивчення англійської мови, що є однією з 10 ключових компетентностей, які прописані у нашій оновленій програмі Міністерства освіти і науки. Well, and actually, you know, I wasn't that smart creating these extra activities myself, though I could, of course. I took these extra activities right from the Next Move teacher's book. They're here right in front of you. Yes, the first extra activity, it actually says stronger groups of fast finishers, write definitions, teacher monitor and helps, they swap their definitions, and then the extra activity below, you see that even the chart is there to tell the teacher what exactly should be done during the lesson. So the teacher's book is just very nice, and there are lots of extra activities which you can use in your classroom, deciding either you have a stronger or a weaker group. So by now, yes, we have done a lead-in, yes, a quick and a motivating lead-in with the students. We have grabbed their attention and involved them into the process of studying from the very beginning. Then we have presented, yes, vocabulary to them in MPF's succession, yes, in the MPF sequence, where M stands for, again, in the chat boxes. Can you write what MPF stands for? Is it, what is MPF? Meaning, good, meaning, all right. What about P, pronunciation and form? Victoria, good job. Yes, it's meaning, pronunciation, form. This is the best way to present new vocabulary to our students. And then we have done some controlled practice activities with them, remembering that they need to be interactive still. Yes, we have come up with some extra activities, but again, we haven't used extra photocopiable activities. We rather extended the existing tasks in the book. And well, yeah, here they are. And then we rounded it up with pair work and group work, which is really important in the lesson. And we remember that on this stage, at this stage, we think of some appropriate feedback for our students. But those of you who were really attentive at the beginning of our webinar, you remember that I told you that there are 6 tips that I'm going to share today with you. And so far, we have covered 5 of them. And the last tip, which is really, really important in teaching students vocabulary, is constant recycling, which means that one vocabulary page is good and is nice, but it's not enough for our students to remember and to be able to use this target language, this vocabulary in speech. And Next Move here is designed perfectly well for this reason, because the next lesson in Next Move is a reading lesson, is a reading page, and actually the topic of the text is e-reading. So it's again about technology, and it contains all the useful language and much of target vocabulary from the previous lesson of vocabulary. And even in grammar, on the grammar page, where students are supposed to learn the structure be going to, there are lots and lots of vocabulary that we have looked through with you today, that which is on the first page of the Next Move unit. Then there is another vocabulary page, and again here are some technology phrases, some collocations that students are introduced to, and again collocations about technology. And then again another reading page in this unit with the text that is called Technology Free Week. So students have no chance just to be introduced to vocabulary once at the beginning of the unit. They come across it on every single page of any of the Next Move units. So these are the 6 tips that I'm sharing with you today, the things I use in my classroom. And this is probably what my lesson plan would look like. Yes, with the procedure here. Next to the procedure, I would definitely write the task that is used, yes, for this or that stage in my lesson. Of course, I would think of interaction. I would see how much student work there is and how much teacher work there is during a lesson. So if you see that there is a lot of letters S, which mean students, and if they prevail, then you've got a student-centered lesson planned. Well, and of course, I would give it timing so that I understood how much time I have for this or that stage, and for every stage to be done in time, preferably. So today, we have had a look at our Next Move book. This is a series from Form 5 to Form 8, lower secondary sector. It's been in Ukraine for 1 year, and I've heard some very positive comments about it, and teachers just love it. And we have an updated version of the Across Ukraine series. So if you're interested in everything that's connected to Ukraine, and if you think that your students probably lack some extra information about Ukraine, which is 100% which 100% corresponds to the ministry program, then go to our shop site. I will share a link in a moment, and look for the Across Ukraine series. This is our methodological website, elt.dinternal.com.ua. I'm sure many of you have been there, and not once, and I advise you to go there and for some updates as well. So there you could find all the seminars and workshops and webinars that are done by our team, by the Internal Book, and follow us in here in Kyiv, or well, we go to different cities and towns around Ukraine as well. Well, and today is the 3rd of October, and we have the first live webinar on planning a perfect vocabulary lesson. If you liked this webinar, then you can share with your colleagues that on the 12th of October at 5 p.m. there is going to be the same webinar. It's going to be live. It's not going to be a recorded version. So invite them to join us next Thursday. And actually, you already can go to our website and register for the next webinar. In this series of Planning Perfect Lessons. And the next one is going to be on speaking. It's going to happen twice, both times live, on the 17th and on the 26th of October here. Well, all of you are going to receive a certificate of attendance. It's going to be sent to you in a thank you email a couple of days later. So To get a certificate, you need to check your email in a couple of days. You need to download the certificate. You can either type your name there in the PDF document and then print it, or you can print the certificate and then write the name and your last name yourself. So here are the sites which you can go to, and again look for any other things that are of your interest that are about the internal book and about Pearson. I will stay here for another couple of minutes, so if you have any questions, I will be really glad to answer them or to share some ideas with you. Yeah, I thank you all very much for attending the webinar. Very good job, guys, everybody. You're doing a very nice thing. Actually, you're developing this one of 10 key competencies, yes, that are written there in the updated ministry program. You're learning through life, yes. You're like developing your life learning skills. So that's why we are really glad to see you here every time, and that you spend some time learning and sharing. Thank you all, guys, very much. Yes, you're welcome, and thank you very much. Thank you as well. Okay, Olena Homich, yes, it's nice that you try some of our suggestions, some of our ideas in the real classroom, because that's why we are here, yes, to share some real life, real classroom activities that you can use. Of course, with all these extra things that we advise you, it's, well, all of them are practically impossible in a 45-minute lesson, but trying one or two now and again would really add variety in your classrooms. So good job, those who use all the different ideas we share with you. Ludmila, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm sure my colleagues see that they are super. I can't agree more with you. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Goodbye. So meaning for, it's okay. My team is helping me there. Okay. Will this webinar? Yes, this webinar is recorded. Actually, it's being recorded at the moment. And when the second live webinar, which is happening next Thursday, is over, then we are going to upload it to our website. So it's going to be there, I think, in 2 weeks' time. So you'll have a chance to go and rewatch it if you wish, yes, and to maybe note down some more things for yourself. Okay, Natalia, thank you for liking the webinar and for recommending it to your colleagues. We will really appreciate that. Okay, so thank you everybody for your participation again. It's going to be great to see you here next time. Enjoy your evening and enjoy teaching. Goodbye.